It's amazing how something as simple as light can change everything. Your surroundings, your emotions, even your sense of safety. Most of us knew what it was like to be afraid of the dark as children. Let's turn on the light, shall we? Hello, I'm Bishop Kai Dewar of the Confessing Anglican Church. Yes, I'm still filling in for Archbishop Robert Gosselin. He is recovering and will hopefully be with you either tomorrow or Thursday. Each morning we open God's Word together, not just for information, but for formation, for clarity, and the peace that only Christ can give. So, my brothers, my sisters, take a breath, settle your mind, and let's begin with the first word. Were you ever afraid of the dark as a child? Most of us were, even if we don't like to admit it now. And for some of us, that fear hangs around longer than we'd ever confess. But maybe that fear isn't childish at all. Maybe it's pointing to something deeper. That we, you and I, were created for light, drawn to light, and somehow we are incomplete without it. There's something about darkness, the uncertainty, the unseen, the way ordinary things suddenly look unfamiliar. That unsettles the human heart. And here's the interesting part. Fear, that fear, doesn't really go away with age. It just changes shape. We stop being afraid of the dark in our rooms. We start being afraid of the dark in our lives. We fear the future we can't predict. We fear the quiet moments when our thoughts get too loud. We fear the parts of ourselves we'd rather not examine. Darkness shows up in more than one way. But maybe the reason the darkness feels so wrong is because we were never made for it. My brothers, my sisters, we were made for light. We were made for God, and God is light. There's something in the human soul that knows instinctively, something that recognizes light as home. We find ourselves drawn toward it, even when we can't explain why. People sometimes talk about a God-shaped hole in the heart. That's not a scientific term, but it is surprisingly accurate. See, there really is a space inside every person that only God can fill. It's an ache that He, and only He, can actually fill. And until He does, we feel the emptiness. We feel the nagging sense that something is missing, even if we can't quite put our finger on it. And when we don't know what's missing, we start searching in the dark. We grab on to things that seem comforting at first, but they slowly close in on us. We try to escape, and yet somehow the escape becomes a prison of its own. We chase pleasure, and it feels us leaving empty, hollow. Drinking to excess numbs the senses, but only for a moment. Sex without love becomes hollow and repetitive. Drugs bend reality long enough to avoid the pain, until they don't. And the very things that we hope would help us escape eventually become the very things that trap us. See, addictions are like acid. They corrode everything they touch. They eat away at joy, at relationships, at identity, at hope. And once pleasure stops being your servant, it becomes a very cruel master. But here is the beauty of the gospel. Jesus doesn't leave us in the dark. fact, he calls us out of it. He invites us into his wonderful light. My brothers, my sisters, light heals. It really does. One of my friends is involved in developmental neurological research. He uses light, literal light, to heal damaged brain tissue. Where parts of the brain have become diseased or atrophied, they darken. And through a process that I'm not remotely smart enough to properly describe, by shining the right kind of light with the right intensity in the right way, those darkened areas begin to heal. He's developing treatments for Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and other forms of dementia, all by shining light where darkness has taken hold. If light can heal the brain, imagine what the light can do for your spirit. He who is light calls you to the light. Yes, God calls you to himself. And when he calls you to come to him, he begins a process. Slow, steady, beautiful, of turning the darkness inside you into light. The lightning part, that's amazing. He doesn't shame you for the dark places or reject you because of them. He simply shines. Where he shines, healing begins. It's like teeth whitening for your inner being, and it allows your spirit to shine as brightly as the best smile you can imagine. Because he begins to form you into his image. He restores what was broken and he heals what was wounded. He fills what was empty with joy. He turns what was dark into something radiant. So my brothers, my sisters, smile, baby, smile. And here's the invitation today. I'm extending an invitation. Well, actually, it's his invitation. Turn to the light. Not by trying harder or by pretending the darkness isn't there, but by letting his light overcome your darkness. Not by hiding your struggles or words, but by giving them to him. Turn on the light by saying yes to God's invitation to come into the light. Let him shine in the corners you've avoided. Let him illuminate the places you've kept hidden. Let him transform the darkness into something truly beautiful. Come into the light. My brothers, my sisters, you will love what you become in it.